Good morning and welcome everyone to this live session of the Science, Communication and Society Specialization. And first of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Amber Bruinzeel. I work for the Department of Science Communication as an educational employee, and I will be your host for today's session. Before we begin and introduce our guest, I want to make a general announcement regarding the courses, because some of you might have already seen the introduction video of Anna Land, who is also with us today. I just want to mention that there are some changes the coming semester in the courses. The content will be the same, but some of the names will change. So it might be that you will find some new names under the specialization courses, but they are still the same courses. So don't worry about that. Don't think that you got the wrong courses. And also these courses will be available as elective courses from next semester. However, there are limited spots for that. So if you are an elective student who wants to do one of those courses, I recommend you to be quick. Let's talk about the structure for today's session. We will start with a small round of introductions in a bit. Then I will interview our beautiful guests for today. And then we will open the floor to our question and answer session. So if you have any questions, you can ask them there live. Or in the meantime, you can also ask your questions through the presenter's poll. I will collect those questions and also we will answer them at the end of this session. And after the session, we also have a chat session available where my colleague Sanne Romp will be available and our students Julia and Marin. So they can also answer any questions that you have left that might not be discussed in this live session. So let's start with our guest and a round of introduction. Anne, could you introduce yourself shortly?
Yes, my name is Anne Land and I'm a teacher and a researcher at the Science, Communication and Society Department. And I'm the program coordinator of the specialization. I studied physics before and then also did a specialization similar to ours and eventually ended up in Leiden about 8 years ago. And I've enjoyed it very much since. In the program, I am teaching a course about informal science education, so learning about science in museums and botanical gardens and zoos. And my research is about citizen science and about real objects in museums.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. We also have our alumni here today, Ines Kao. Thank you for being here with us. Could you also please introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. I'm Ines. I'm also from Utrecht. I did, first of all, my bachelor's in Utrecht Biomedical Sciences, and then I did the master and the specialization in science communication in Leiden. I finished that one in 2017. After that, I worked for the public broadcaster for a popular science program in television and radio. I did writing, news articles, and since the end of 2020, I started a new job at the NIVEL, the Dutch Research Institute for Healthcare. So that's me and science communication so far. Well, and when I'm not working, I love to do gardening and do a lot of sports, handball, and hiking and doing adventures in nature, and that's who I am.
Great, thank you so much for sharing, and a lot of work experience, which is great. We will talk about that later as well. Then last but not least, we have our current student, Eva Taylor. Can you also introduce yourself, please?
Yes, so hi everybody, I'm Aoife. I'm from Ireland, from a place called Kildare, just south of Dublin. I am in my final year of my Master's in Astronomy with the Science Communication and Society Specialisation. And before doing this, I obtained a Bachelor's in Physics with Astronomy and Space Science from University College Dublin. And I also took a year out between my studies before coming here. And in my spare time, I like to do theatre. I also like to go bouldering, and I'm also learning how to surf at the moment. Yep. That's
great. Thanks for sharing so much. Eva is also here to represent our international students, of course, so really good to have you here as well. So let's talk a bit about the specialization, because that's where most people are here for. So first, I would like to start with why are choosing our specialization. Anna, what do you think? Why should students choose our specialization, and what do you think is so great and special about our program?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we see that there's actually a growing number of students who is interested in going into science communication. So we think nowadays for science researchers, it's becoming more and more important to be able to talk about your research to a general audience, and also to think about how your research connects to society. We also see that there are many students who are choosing science education who don't necessarily want to become a researcher or want to work in the lab all the time, and they are more passionate about talking about their field or their topics with other people, or to think about how the link with society is being made. So we cater to both types of students. So it doesn't mean if you do our specialization that you stop physics or you stop biology, but you do both. And you learn these things about how to, you learn knowledge and skills on how to communicate about your field. And why Leiden? Well, I think there are many of these programs throughout the Netherlands. So other universities have these programs as well. And I think Leiden is really strong in making a connection between theory and practice. So really, always when we discuss theory, we look at examples, or when we look at practice, we use theory to analyze or to develop things. So I think that, for example, we're visiting a zoo and a museum during the courses. So I think that makes our program interesting.
Thank you so much. Sounds great. So I would like to ask the same question to Ines, since you experienced, of course, this program firsthand as well, even though it's a few years ago. Can you please tell us why you choose this program?
Yeah, so I was studying biomedical sciences, and in the last year of my bachelor's, I experienced teaching in high school, teaching science. And that was so much fun. I really liked it, so I started to look into it. And yeah, I thought it's really important to know how to explain science and make science available and understandable for everyone. So I started to look into it, and I found a master's in Utrecht as well. But then a lot of scientists at the biomedical science department said, well, don't waste your time in doing communication, because if you want to be a real scientist, just do science and be the best scientist. And I kind of felt angry about that and thought, well, that's really not true. And that made me decide that that's not the scientist I want to be. So I started to look even further, and yeah, I thought it's really important to do this science communication. And I found even more masters, and afterwards also in Leiden. And I really like the one in Leiden because, like Anna said, it's not just the communication. You still have your masters in biomedical sciences or whatever master you're doing. And what I really liked about Leiden was the visual components. That was something personal. I really love to make drawings and infographics and videos, and explain science that way. And I thought I just do a master's and afterwards I will learn myself or something. And then I figured out that it already exists in the real program. I realized that just before the start of the master's, I think. I thought, well, it exists. It's definitely going to do that. So.
Great, thank you so much for your explanation. Great motivation, and very good that you chose this path and you're still a real scientist, of course. Thank you. A similar question for you, Eva, especially from the perspective of an international student. Can you explain a bit more what you think is great about our program?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I was looking for a course that I could do astronomy and science communication with together, even if it was a little bit of connection, because I really got into science outreach and things like that in my undergrad, in my maybe final 2 years, and I hadn't really gotten to explore it very much, but I also was really still interested in astronomy, and I wanted to pursue that further. So I was really looking for some sort of connection there, and I went looking, and I actually came to Leiden University, or started looking on their website, because I have friends who had actually gone from Ireland to Leiden, and I had always wanted to travel to do my master's, and they had recommended Leiden for its international community and also just the city itself. It's a really lovely city to move to. So then I started looking on the website, and I found the course, and it was perfect because of the year of astronomy research that I could do, and then also try out the science communication as well. And I also was really drawn because of the internship component as well, because I have never had the opportunity to really work professionally in my discipline, and I know it's a really good experience to do that. So that was something that really drew me to the course, that I would get that opportunity to do that.
Great, thank you so much for the insights. So let's talk a bit about the courses themselves. So every year from September on, we offer a variety of courses within the specialization. This is like the first course part is a 13-week program, which is a full-time study, so 40 hours a week. Regarding this study load and also the variety of courses that we offer in our specialization, Ines, what was your experience in this?
In the, I'm sorry, in the courses?
The variety of the courses that we offer, what was your experience with this?
Yeah, it was a huge variety. You got like everything. You got the theories and research methods to learn how to do research in science communication, which is really different from doing research in, for example, biomedical sciences. There's a lot of practical assignments. You have courses in informal education, how to make these educational formats, how to do animations, how to, I remember something about getting the rights, I'm sorry, my English, to subsidize your research.
Funding.
Yeah. Well, it can be real long, but it's you learn a lot of different things, and every day of the week you got another topic, another course. So it's really fun, because sometimes one course is not really personally your thing, but the next day you got another one, and you can, like, how do you say that, like, smell a bit of everything and choose what you really like, and do an internship in that field, and then you become the expert.
Great, thank you so much for answering that. And now, of course, we have a lot of different courses, but last year we had to offer our courses online because of COVID-19, unfortunately. This year we will try to do it physically, but of course, that's not a certainty yet. So anyway, I want to ask to you, Eva, how did you experience the study load and the variety of courses in an online setting this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so similar to Ines, I really enjoyed the variety of courses, especially because, firstly, every week or every day, even because you're doing usually, well, I was doing 5 courses a week, and so each day you had a different course or 2 courses, and so that meant that every day you were kind of thinking and looking at things from a new perspective, and so that made it really exciting and kept the course really interesting. And I also liked that I could learn about a lot of new topics that maybe I'd never really thought about, that even were part of science communication, and that I actually started to really enjoy. And in terms of the workload, it was definitely busy, but I was always able to finish everything and still have free time. And I do think that at maybe the beginning, I struggled more with time management, and that was because, firstly, probably from moving from astronomy to the science communication specialization, just a different way of kind of writing and things like that, but also getting used to the online aspects. And I had kind of experienced the online setting for part of my astronomy masters as well. And obviously moving into a different specialization online is quite a big thing. But the SES lecturers made sure that we had a worthwhile learning experience, and also really made sure that we felt connected to our classmates and our peers. And so there were often discussions in class. The chat on the class platforms was always super busy. And we also had a lot of group work, which at the beginning took me a little time to get used to. But after a while, I actually started to really enjoy them. And by the end of it, they were actually my preferred type of assignment. And a huge part of that was the social aspect of it. And so, yeah, it was definitely still fun.
Great, good to hear. Thank you so much for your great answer. So after these courses of 13 weeks, we have the final course basically, which is the communication product development. This is a 3-week sprint where you will actually work on a real product with real clients, which is unique to our program. So Anna, I would like to ask you a bit more about this. What is so unique about this program, and what is the added value of these projects?
Yeah, I think many other programs also do similar things, but I think what's special with our product development course is that we ask clients or scientists from our own science faculty and the medical faculty to come up with science communication ideas or products that they have. So many researchers they feel like, oh, I really want to make a video for kids, or it would be so fun if I can make a children's book or an escape room for adults. Or so they have these ideas but never have the time to really focus on it. So we ask these scientists to come up with these ideas, and then we have a list of possible science communication products, and then our students get to choose which of these products they would like to work on. So from both sides, it's really real and something that people are motivated to work on. And this is really an example of how we combine theory and practice. So all the theory that students learned in the first 13 weeks, they're applying in these 3 weeks in the full-time course. So they talk to their client about what are the criteria, and then they start thinking about what they will make, how they will make it, how it will work. They are talking to the target audience to see what should work for the people that the product is intended for. And students work pretty independently, and because they chose their own ideas or their own topics, they can connect to their own creativity or the things that they are good at or the things that they want to learn. So there are sometimes students who really want to learn how to make an animation. So then they can put that in the product development. So I think we find that it's really motivational for students. It's a lot of work, a lot of stress, but also motivational to work on something real. And actually, some of these products have turned up in the real world as, for example, a math tour through Leiden or an escape room in classrooms.
Sounds awesome. Thank you. So Ines, I have a similar question for you as when you were a student. How did you experience this period?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Anna just said, that the best thing is that it's something real. It's not just an assignment for students to prove that you're able to do it. It's a real question. Someone really wants to use it, so that feels really differently, and I think that makes you work harder. It's more important. It's not just to finish your course. It's you're doing it for someone, and it's really nice that it was a scientist. I did a project with a physicist, and it was for me the first experience in communicating with a scientist out of my field. He was not a biomedical scientist, but he did physics. So I didn't know anything about it. So I had to ask him the right questions to get comprehensible information. And it turned out to be quite hard. Like I asked him an easy question, and there will be a huge answer about all the molecules. Like, oh my God, no, we're not going to demonstrate this in the classroom. It's way too difficult. And asking again and again and again, and let him eventually explain it in the right manner, because I'm not the expert, he is, but I have to ask the right questions to get the right information. And I didn't know how to do it. We just showed up at his office and started to talk with him. And after I finished my master's and I started my job, this was my job. I had to do that all the time, asking the right questions so that another person is formulating his answers the right way that anyone can understand it. Because yeah, so that was really useful. It's not that I was the expert after this project, but it was the first time I did it, and yeah, it was all new to me, and it was really fun. I never realized that when I started biomedical sciences that I had to think about how to make ice in my own kitchen, and this ice needs to be really transparent so that anyone in the class can see what's happening inside. Yeah, it's really practical and doing just designing things. That's what I really liked.
Great, thanks. It sounds like fun indeed.
Yeah.
Eva, I have a similar question for you. What do you think about this final project, and what do you think the added value is?
Yeah, so similar to Ines as well. I really like the real world aspect, especially the working for a client and getting to meet with them and having that kind of real responsibility, because you want to make that successful product that will hopefully have longevity to it as well. So that can make you really passionate about working on it. And also, as Anna mentioned before, that you actually get to choose what project you do. So you can really choose something that maybe suits you to like what you're interested in, or something that kind of you want to explore a bit more. And so that again then makes you really interested in what you're doing. And also for me, I actually chose something that aligned with my interests, and now I'm actually using the experience from that I'm writing about it in my motivational letters for jobs that I'm actually applying for now, because they kind of all link up to similar things. So in that regard, it was a great experience, and it was an intense few weeks, but it was nice because you get really close to the group that you're working with. And at the beginning, it takes a bit of time, to figure out how people work differently, and what strengths, and even just delegating tasks. But after a few days, you really get into the flow of it, and you actually get to really experience what it's like to work on kind of like a professional product. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Great, thank you so much for your answer, very clear. So then after this project, of course, there is the start of the internship period, which is also a big part of the specialization. Anna, I would like to ask you about this a bit more. What type of internship opportunities can students expect when they choose this specialization?
Yeah, I think the internships are often what students are looking forward to a lot, and they're also a bit scared about it. So we get a lot of questions during the courses: how do I find an internship? But then during the course, students get to learn the field a bit more and see how broad and wide it is. So we have many different types of internship opportunities, and our network is very big, because we have different types and different topics of teachers, and then they have a network around them. So for example, in my case, I know a lot of science museums, so those are places where our students find internships pretty easily. We have many students who do an internship at editorial offices of popular scientific magazines, like in Dutch it's Kijk or New Scientist or Quest, for example. But also we have students who do their internships at the communication department of a university, or at patient organizations such as the Cancer Foundation or the Heart Foundation. So basically anywhere where science and society meet, that's a place where we need people that know a bit about both, who know about science and know about science communication. So it's really broad. And then, yeah, the internships, most students spend about half a year on their internship, or split it up and do 2 different ones. And it contains a lot of a lot of practice in the field. So you're really part of an editorial office, you start writing, or you're really part of a communication office. So you're one of the colleagues there. And then another part of the internship period is that the students do research with their organization or with our department. And for example, if a student is doing an internship at a museum, it might mean that about half of their internship is spent on developing a museum activity. And then in their research, they may measure the impact of that activity on, for example, knowledge or interest of visitors about a certain topic. So there again, the research and the practical part are really connected. And all internships are being supervised by someone at the organization and also someone in our department. So you really get input from both sides. So I think that's from my side the internship period.
Great, thank you so much. We do need to keep an eye on the time though, because we are basically almost finishing the interview session. So I'm gonna skip a few questions. I'm sorry, guys. But anyway, if you guys have any questions in the meantime that we don't discuss now, please feel free to ask them and we will talk about those right after these interviews. So maybe then regarding the admission of the program, there might be possible challenges when entering the specialization. Eva, my question for you as an international student, did you struggle with anything when entering the program?
No, when entering the program, actually, I found that I settled in very well and nicely, especially from an international standpoint. Maybe some little things would be that maybe you're working on a project that would have maybe a different context, like it might be about education in the Netherlands, and I wouldn't know the context for that. So that would maybe take a little bit more research, or some documents might be in Dutch, so I might need to translate. But everybody, all of my peers would also be very helpful in answering any of those questions as well that I had. And because we were an international group as well, we all did the same for each other. So if anyone had a background in something that we needed help in, we could always ask each other questions. So I definitely felt that I settled in very well. And I would just say, the best thing to do is when you're doing the classes, to approach it with like an open mind and to be proactive in the class discussions. And especially with that, it means that you can actually meet a lot of people as well, just through those class discussions and things like that. So yeah.
Great, thank you so much for explaining. Ines, I have a similar question for you as a student who went through the whole program. What do you think could be a challenge for students in general?
What the challenge is that it's all really new. That's what I experienced. I was a 5th year university student, but a 1st year science communication student. So it's all really new. So it's a bit of a strange feeling, like feeling like a 1st year, but everyone is, and the program is made for that. So it's not a real struggle that it's a problem, but it's more like in your head that it feels strange. But yeah, it's also the fun thing. I choose to learn these new things and just learn that they exist in a course. So it was just everyday new experience.
Great, thank you so much for your addition. Then lastly, I have a question for you, Anne. What do you recommend to students? How can they prepare themselves for our program?
Yeah, and that's connecting a bit to Ines's remarks, that we know that this is new for everyone. So you don't have to prepare, of course. But if you want to, it's always a good idea to already start thinking about how to connect your research with society. So at your university or at Leiden University, you may have courses that are a bit outside of the normal track, that are about society or that are about philosophy or history of your field. So those courses will help you get a broader view of your own field. And you could also see if there's voluntary work, or if you could maybe write for the student magazine or the faculty magazine, and get some experience in writing for a popular audience. Or see if the museum in your city has volunteer jobs. Of course, now with COVID, it's a bit harder, but see if you can already taste a bit of the science communication field. And again, it's not required, but it will help you ease into the science communication specialization.
Great, thank you so much, Anne, for your great answer. I do think that now we can go to the question and answer session. And we already have a few questions. The first question is from Fien, and it's a question towards Eva or Ines. And she asked, what is the project or assignment in science, communication, and society you liked the most?
Yeah, okay, I can start off with that one. There was one, I remember that we got to go to the zoo, and it was when things were okay for us to go to the zoo, which was great, first of all. But we got to design an exhibit for a specific target audience, or like an exhibit kind of add-on, more so. And I really love that, because you have a specific target audience that you have to think about, and think about then as well, inclusion and things like that. But you could be really creative about it, which was one of my favorite parts. And that was my favorite one, was really the kind of designing something for someone specific and putting kind of all the things that I'd learned about designing and the best way to showcase things, and thinking about inclusion the whole time. It was a really interesting experience to be able to do that.
Great, thanks. Ines, do you maybe also still have a recall of your favorite assignment?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's already a long time ago. I remember that I liked like she said already, the real designing thing, making something for real. I remember an assignment for Naturalis, designing an educational game for children. Not really designing the game, but making that concept about dinosaurs. And it started with my own knowledge about dinosaurs, which wasn't there, and then do you explain it, and what do you want to say, and how are you going to make it visually really attractive. And it got so many components. And it was another assignment, but I also liked the writing assignments as a journalist, because it was really new, and I learned so much, because it was not writing in a scientific way, but in the popular way, and it's everything's going the other way around, and there were so many steps to make and things to learn, and it opened so many doors for me to write in a better way. For me, it's not always better, but a way I like more. So they were also really nice assignments. And also the assignment was to do it for the real world. Ask a scientist, interview a scientist, and write an article for a newspaper, and try call the newspaper to publish it. And of course, I think 9 out of 10 they say no, but try, and that was I really liked.
Sounds like a great experience. Thank you so much for sharing. And then we have another question from Brit, for the girl from Dublin, Eva. Her question is, did you do 2 masters, or only an astronomy bachelor, or a combination of the astronomy and science communication master?
So I did 1 master's, but it's the combination of, so it's 2-year masters. 1 year I focused on astronomy research and astronomy courses, and then my 2nd year I organized my credits in a way that I would focus all on the science, communication, and society for the second part. So for the first few months of that, first 3 or 4 months, it's the courses, and then for the second part, then it's the internship. And then I just did a bachelor's then before that in physics with astronomy. So lots of astronomy. But that's what I did. I hope that was clear enough.
Yes, great, very clear, thank you. I think there is sometimes a bit of a mix-up that science, communication, and society is actually a master on its own, but it is a specialization program, so indeed in combination with a master program. So I think that is very clear from that. Then there is another question from Brit, and she wants to know, Anna, I think you can answer this one. Can you also do an internship abroad?
That's a good question. And yes, you can. Of course, with COVID again, it's a bit hard because a lot of international travel is impossible. But we allow internships abroad, and the only thing is that students are responsible for their own internships, so it would need a bit more work from your side. But of course, our networks are also international, so we can help you find spots where you can go. But then organizing everything is your own responsibility. the university has a lot of support for that from the international office, and there are different ways where you can get some extra funding within the Erasmus program or some other funding for traveling abroad. But it can be a great experience to do something in a different country.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for answering that question. Then there is a question from Tanya, who says, good morning, everyone. Is the science communication specialization available for all courses? I'm looking to go into a Master of Archaeology or Osteoarchaeology, and I am still interested in this specialization. So Anna, maybe you can also answer this one.
Yeah, that's a difficult. I know that there's a lot of enthusiasm from many different students, but our specialization as an official specialization as part of your master is only available for about 9 programs within the science faculty. But like Amber was saying in the beginning, many of our courses or all of our courses are also available as electives for other students. And then again, mostly focused on the science faculty, because we really look at how to communicate the science. Like in English, it's like the life sciences and math and things like that. But we are open for people with a strong motivation from other fields. So I would advise you to, once you've chosen your master's, to ask your study advisor there if you can take some of our courses as electives. And then we can talk and see how you fit, how our courses fit your program and the other way around. So there's something possible, but not the full specialization, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but I hope that answers your question, Tanya. So then there is another question from Anna. She says, hi, great talk. I think so as well. And she has a question regarding the admission process, because in the beginning I said, of course, there is a limited amount for elective students, like a limited amount of spots. So Anna, again, a question for you. What are the main factors taken into account when deciding between candidates? So maybe you can go a bit more into that.
Yeah, so if this is about the full specialization, it is available for anyone with a master's within the science faculty. So just making that sure. If you are studying biology or physics or chemistry or whatever, and you want to do this specialization, you get admitted. So there's not really an admission process there for the specialization. And for elective students, we need to take into account that we don't go overboard with the number of students that we have in our courses. So for now, we said that there's a cap of 10 elective students for each course. So that will just be first come, first serve. So once you're admitted in the program and you're like within a few months of the start of our courses, then let us know. And then we will put you on the list of elective students. And then, yeah, so we don't have a motivational letter or things like that to support the admission process.
Great, thank you so much. I think that's very clear. So I guess that were all the questions that we have for this morning session. Of course, we will also have another session this afternoon. So if you guys want to join that one as well, you're welcome. And we can also answer more questions if you would like. Maybe because we have some extra time left and we have Ines here, who is our alumna, maybe you can tell us a bit about your work experience and how your process went from being a student to going into the work field.
Yes. Well, it started with my internship, which is, well, actually your first working experience. And I did my internship at the NTR, the public broadcaster of the Netherlands. And I did 2 things. First of all, I wrote for the website about scientific news and background stories about the episodes they made. And the biggest part of my internship was the television program, popular science program. It's called De Kennis van Nu. Since this year, it's not on the television anymore, unfortunately. My job there was to make short episodes about a topic in science. So I had to find that topic. So that's reading newspapers and sometimes also scientific papers calling scientists, visiting scientists, and get to understand everything, and then discuss with your colleagues and the editor what scientists can explain it very well, is good on camera, which is all really new for me to learn, but you will pick it up quite fast, and the colleagues were really helpful, and it was so much fun. So I made this, like 3-minute episode every week, and I assist in filming and editing as well. That was the biggest part of my internship. And after my master's, I could stay there. So first as an assistant, and then later on as I could make my own episodes together with the editors. So there was always finding new topics, finding scientists, talking with scientists, meeting scientists, and get to know every field to see where the interesting topics are. I did that for 2 years. Besides that, I was also writing news articles on biotechnology news for Nemo Kennislink. I did that as freelancer, so it was also a new experience to work as freelancer. It can be quite hard, but also a lot of fun and opportunities. After that, I wanted to try something else. I really liked it, but I thought, well, I'm going to try something really different. So I wanted to be I was more to society side, television, and you have to make everything really easy. And now I wanted to experience more the scientific side, the side of the researcher. So I started to look into jobs at research institutes, and now I have a job at the Dutch Research Institute for Healthcare. And now I have to assist and help the scientists with their outreach about their science. So still science communication, but really different. It's now motivating the scientists that it's important that other people can also understand it, that you can do your research like 40 hours a week, 80 hours a week, but if no one's going to use it, it's a different job.
It sounds like a great job and a lot of possibilities and a broad field. So it sounds really nice. Thank you so much, Ines. We still have one last question that just came in, so maybe we can answer that one, and then we're going to close off the session. Britt has a question about the specialization. For the specialization, you only have to do a science master, but is it necessary you do the master in Leiden? Anne?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. Most of our students are in Leiden, and that is the easiest track to follow. So make sure that you get admitted to chemistry, for example, do 1 year of chemistry courses and research, and then do 1 year of science communication, and everything is at one place and very easy to follow. But we also offer our courses for guest students from other universities if they show a good motivation. It's a bit different because then you need approval from your own program that you can take our courses as electives. And now that we have split up our courses, it's a bit easier because you can pick maybe 2 or 3, and it fits within your elective number of ECs that you need for your elective. Or if you really want to take the whole specialization, of course you're allowed to, but then it might go over the elective room that you have in your own program, and you might still have to do the internships that they require you to do. So there are ways that we can combine things. So I would advise you, if you have another master's in a different university that you like more than what you can find in Leiden, and then email us, and we can get back to you and give you more details and talk with you about the possibilities.
Yes, great. Thank you so much for that answer. There is another question, and we can maybe do it because it's a very personal question to Eve. It's not completely related to the specialization, but you mentioned you took a year off before starting your master's. What was your experience with getting back into studying, and what was in any way a problem?
So for me, I took the year off because I really wanted a break. from 4 years. My bachelor was 4 years and I needed a break just to recharge myself. But definitely getting back into it, it takes a bit of time, especially in astronomy. There's a lot of things like programming that I had done previously that I completely forgot. So as I came up to the courses, I kind of started going back over a few things. But I definitely would recommend that if you feel like you need a year, take a year, because I am very happy that I decided to take a break and really, just allow a bit of time to relax myself and work on myself and stuff like that. And then I felt like I could then do a 2-year master's and really kind of give it all I had, you know. It does take a little bit of time to get back into exams and things like that, but I feel like after a few weeks you do settle back in, and it was definitely worth it for me anyway.
So can I ask you, what did you do in the year? How did you spend it?
Yeah, I worked as a barista in a cafe. Okay. And I traveled all over Ireland, and that's what I did, and it was great. Fun. And I raised a bit of money so I could saved a bit of money so I could move here. But yeah, it was just a nice, no science, just whatever I wanted to do for about a year. So it's awesome. Good. Yeah.
Sounds great. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Sophia. So I'm going to wrap up this session, you guys. If you have any more questions that were not answered during this session, please go to the online information market where Sanne and Marijn and Julia are for our specialization to answer any other questions regarding our specialization. And again, at 2 this afternoon, we have another session. It's the same session as we had now. So we're not going to tell you probably a lot of new things, but maybe if you want to ask some questions to one of our guests, feel free to also join. So I want to thank all of our guests today. Thank you, Anne, Ines, and Eve for being here with us. It was great, and I think you gave a lot of great insights in our specialization program. And for everyone who is watching, I want to wish you a lovely day and already a very great weekend. So
thank you
guys.
too.
Hi, thank you.